July 2007. Yeah, I've avoided it since then, watching it all the way through. So yeah, so this was fun.
What do you guys think? So Chris, how did you become involved with this film?
It was really just, it was a script that came to me. I made one movie before this that like went to festivals, and then I got an agent and stuff, so I was getting scripts. And I got this, it just happened really quickly, and I just really responded to the script, and so my first meeting with it was for the movie was with Frank Mancuso Jr., and like when I just, like that was a huge deal to me, you know, because he produced all the Friday the 13th sequels and April Fool's Day and Species. So I was like, I just went to the meeting like just trying to play it cool, like basically just talked my way into it. Like I really the script was just like really distinct and just really weird in a way that to me is just totally, it just felt like totally normal. And I was reading a lot of scripts at that time. This is, you know, like the 2000s, like the where horror was at the time was very not kind of like fantastical like this was. And so the script, like as soon as I saw, you know, in the script, like there's a blue rose like in the first act, I was like, you know, yeah, this is, I have to make this. So I just talked my way into it, which I'm totally bad at, like talking my way into anything, but it just worked out that like one time.
Now, with Jeff Hammond's script, how much of anything changed from like the page to what ended up on the screen?
Well, we worked on the script together. You know, like the script that I first read, like it definitely, you know, it was this movie, you know, like he really just put down this crazy vision on the page. So yeah, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like at that time I was just very like in tune with what he had put down, and I knew how to kind of bring it out. I don't know, it was very, very strange, but like I said at the time, like to me, none of it seemed strange. It just seemed like, you know, oh yeah, this is what I like, you know.
At what point did Lindsay Lohan become attached to this?
When I got hired to direct it, we didn't have anybody attached yet, and she was like the first choice when we started talking about people, and she responded to it. It was kind of like, you know, she wanted to do new stuff, different than what she was doing, and we got along really well. So that all, like I got the gig, and then we got her on, you know, just a couple weeks later. It was just really quick.
Wow. This film is visually stunning in a lot of ways. Could you talk about your approach to directing it? Like, were you looking for like a certain stylistic point to bring to it? Because there's lots of colors, there's lots of like camera moves and that kind of stuff. Was it just something that as you're reading the script you saw those kind of shots and setups, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like I was at the time, my first movie I'd kind of like developed, like I was going for like a really kind of visceral, aggressive, like visual style, and I've always loved colors, obviously. And this, I just had like a chance to like double down on it, and like no one was like telling me not to, you know? So it was just kind of like, I just really went for like my style at the time. And then like, you know, when the movie came out, like, and you know, it was like I wasn't really prepared for like being like, oh, you know, this is total piece of shit. You know, I when I finished the movie, I didn't think I made like a great movie, but I thought I made a pretty good movie. So when it came out and everyone hated it, it was after that I kind of tried to like, not consciously, but I realized later, like almost like erase filmmaking wise, the style that I had been like kind of developing in my first movie and then in this one. But yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Should have just like kept going with where I was at.
I mean, this is the problem with shit like the Razzies and like all that other stuff, which is just, it's, you know, I know this movie ended up having some baggage, which I think unfairly kind of undermined like how awesome it is, because like it's visually stunning, and I since this is January Giallo, I would just want to ask you, like, were you influenced by any Giallo films when making this?
Definitely. Well, that was just like, it wasn't like I was consciously trying to make like my own giallo, but it was like, to me, the material was like just totally in sync with that stuff. Particularly like the first, I don't even know if you guys haven't read Jim's article in the zine about giallos. You got to do it because you break down really well, kind of like what is a giallo and what is not. And you know, Argento's Stendhal syndrome, which I stumbled into the North American premiere of at the Cinematheque back when they were at Raleigh Studios in
Wow.
the 90s. I was at USC. That was my entrance to not only to giallos, but also to Italian horror in general. Like, I hadn't even seen Suspiria at that point. I think I had found like the program for the Cinematheque. It's like probably like Aaron's Records. I was like, hey, this sounds cool, and just went, and like my mind was totally blown by the Stendhal syndrome and how like mean it is. Like that's Argento's meanest film, I think. If you guys haven't seen it, you gotta check it out.
I do want to point out, as much as I love Dario, he did have a mean streak against his partner and his daughter in like some of his films. That's for a psychoanalyst here, but
Yeah, well, when I say mean, I'm not judging Dario though. I think this, like, I'm surprised when I watch I Know Who Killed Me, like the scene with the peeling the skin off her hands, like that I got away with that. Like everyone was just like, oh cool, like, you know, this is like a Fulci film, but like we're gonna put this, you know, in 2,000 theaters up against the Simpsons movie. Like, okay, awesome. Like that would never happen now, and I think it was just because no one was paying attention at Sony at that point. It was like, we wrapped the movie in on my birthday in March of 2007, and we were in theaters in July. So everything was like it was very quick, you know? And no one was just questioning like anything. Like we did like a screening like for friends and like, what do you think? And it was really like, people were just like, I don't know what the fuck this is. But good job. Like, so I don't know. And then, you know, we came out and, you know, people were like, oh yeah, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen. I was like, okay, like, well, maybe you like the next one better, you know, so that's it.
how does it feel that all those people were just so wrong about this now?
Well, I don't even know if they're wrong. That's a total valid opinion. But for me, like, I had, like, my daughter was born like a month after this movie came out, so I was like, oh shit, like I'm gonna have to like learn how to write, you know, like, because no one's gonna hire me to direct. So that's so it was, at the time it was more just like just practical matters, like, because the paycheck from this movie got me out of the debt that I was in for my first movie, you know, because I did the stupid thing of like putting a bunch of shit on my credit cards in my first movie, and then I paid that off with this one, and then that ate up like a bunch of my pay, and then it's like, oh, I'd go into like directing meetings after this, and people just wanted to hear gossip from the set. I was like, oh fuck, but you know, no one's gonna hire me. That's cool.
Now, I again, everyone's very aware of what Lindsay was going through while making this movie, but I do think she gives an extraordinary performance.
Oh, it was so great to watch her, because yeah, she did a fucking great job. And she was 20 when we made this, and just surrounded by fucking vultures. You know, like, just people like totally taking advantage of her, and like, you know, she was just doing the best she could. And I fucking love her.
Now, can you talk about working with her for that dual performance of Dakota and Aubrey? Because like, she does play them completely different, and like, it's just, you know, as the movie unfolds, for those of you who haven't seen it, like, you kind of wonder, is she just fucking crazy? Is she just making up this other thing? Or like...
Yeah, well, I mean, because she had been through it with Parent Trap, which is like when she was like, you know, speaking like fluent French in that movie, and like just doing the dual roles, and it's like, just the raw talent in her, you know, was crazy. So I've always really liked working with people that started acting as children, because they're like so they don't need like a lot of like bullshit, like to, you know, like they're very direct about like what you want out of them in the scene and whatnot. You don't have to kind of dance around it. And she was like that, and just a total pro. Yeah, so it was great.
Now, I know we talked about kind of the giallo-ness of this movie, but you had some other influences in making it. Do you want to talk about those? Because I definitely see some David Lynch, Brian De Palma, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, in the script, in the first act, like when there's the blue rose that he gives her, and so as soon as I read that in the script, I was like, oh shit, because in, you know, Fire Walk With Me, you know, which is the gorgeous, amazing, devastating masterpiece by David Lynch from '92. There's a scene early in the movie where basically I feel like it's Lynch is telling you like how his movies work. You know, it's like the FBI guy is like saying, like, this woman comes out in a dress and she's like doing all this weird shit, and everything in her appearance and everything that she's doing, her movements and everything, the FBI agent explains. This means this, this means this, this means this. But then she has a blue rose on her, and it's like, the dude's like, I'm not gonna tell you what that means. You know? And to me that like sums up like the Lynch movies, you know, where he's making like, he makes these mysteries that everything like means something, but there's always a blue rose, which is the unknowable thing. You know, we're all in this life, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, we don't know what the fuck it means. So ultimately, like, the power of his movies to me is like it's the mystery that's never solved, but it's still satisfying. So when I saw the blue rose in the script, it's just like that inherently, you know, got me excited. And so like for the mother role, like Cheryl Fenn came in, Cheryl Lee came in, Laura Lena Harding came in. It was definitely like, and also Bonnie Aarons, who plays Fat Tina, who manages the strip club. She's, you know, she's in Mulholland Drive, like lurking behind Winkies as, you know, the mysterious figure behind the dumpster.
It causes that guy the heart attack.
Exactly, yeah. And when she came in, like, she brought me like these 8x10 glossies, like of her and that. And I was like, yeah, this is great. But yeah, and also, and you know, and if you had to put a gun to my head and make me pick like a favorite, like director that means the most to me, it would probably be De Palma. And Dress to Kill, like, is huge. I think DNA imprint on this one. Just and also everything, because De Palma loves like the melodrama and everything. You know what I mean? Like, I love melodrama. I love like wearing my heart on my sleeve, like trying to make something like really emotional, really broad. It's okay if it's funny to some people. It can be funny and emotional. You know, it's like that. I love all of that. Like, you know, Douglas Sirk, like kind of Technicolor emotion. You know, and also of course, you know, Hitchcock, which De Palma was riffing off, and you know, Marnie, like the color dissolves. That's one thing that I was worried about seeing after a while. It's like, am I gonna like those color dissolves? I haven't watched those in so long. Because I love Marnie. It's like she trips out about the color red and stuff in that movie, and like there's all these crazy dissolves. But actually I liked the color dissolves watching it this time. So that was nice.
Now, another thing, and this is in a lot of giallo films, but like a little different, because in the 70s, when they shot in Italy, everyone lived in these amazing houses with crazy decor and stuff. And I feel like the production design and the way people's houses look in this movie is kind of like, it might not be the same, but it's very similar because there's lots of little details everywhere. Can you talk about like the production design of like? Oh,
totally. Like that was one thing also watching this tonight, which I missed so much since I've made like lower budget stuff after this. Like actually, because we built those sets, you know, the basement and her room. We just built those, so it's like we talked to the production designer, just plan it out. We want all these details, like hopefully I'll do that again one day, because that's just being able to design a set specifically for all these little details and the specific shots that you want to do. Like that was, the advantage of having some Sony money,
I guess like just continuing on the giallo-ness of the thing is the score, because it's like it kind of reminds me of like a score from one of those movies, and also you said Dress to Kill, it's a little Pinot Donaggio in a way. Could you talk about like that?
Yeah,
score?
I think Pinot Donaggio would probably be a big influence on the score. Joel McNeely did the score, and he had at the time been doing had been conducting a bunch of Bernard Herrmann scores around the world. And I feel like the score is like super classy. It's almost like the score is classier than the movie. The movie has like a sleaziness to it and then the score is classier than the movie. Kind of like also like a lot of the Donaggio stuff with De Palma, like the opening of Carrie, which is probably the best movie ever made. When you're in the locker room and it's just all these women taking their clothes off in slow motion, and it's like the most beautiful music you've ever heard in your life, and it just hurts your heart. I feel like Joel tapped into that, and it really his classiness with my kind of sleaziness, it felt, because to me that's that's what I ultimately love the most. I love all kinds of movies and everything, but I love when something is has one foot in kind of an art world and one foot in a total trash. To me, that's the sweet spot of cinema.
I mean, you've been here for basically all the screenings, and you get to see that's what a giallo is. You get classy and you get trashy.
Exactly, and that's why it's this month has been so fun watching these building up to tonight, because it's it just reaffirms oh yeah, this is kind of the sweet spot for me about what I like about movies.
Now, we talked about the score, but there's also some really great needle drops of songs on here. When I first saw this movie, I was caught off guard that there's a strip club scene in the Melvins. Can you talk about those songs?
Yeah, I was I got to pick every song in here, and I was just so stoked to do it, because that's normally when I'm making a movie, edit during the day with the editor, and then at night I'll just drink and watch scenes with different music, for hours and hours and hours, just seeing what kind of, because I love music, that's why that's the reason I think I can write, is because I love listening to music. It's an excuse to sit there and listen to music. And editing those night sessions where it's just me alone listening to music on different scenes, so on this I tried out so many different things at the time, and it was cool to have a little bit of that studio money. I was totally happy to because I've loved the Melvins forever. It's yeah, let's kick the Melvins some money. And the opening song Vietnam, those dudes were so stoked to have that cash. And it's so I love that song, and it's every song in there I obsessed over, the architecture in Helsinki, and I was going out to a lot of shows at the time. And all of that stuff was just music that really meant a lot of really specific emotional stuff to me at that specific time. So it was because all of those songs are pretty much came out with. It wasn't I was doing older songs, which for this one it felt like it needed to have stuff that was very specific to that time that meant something to me. And all those songs, I think, came out within about a year of when we were making the movie.
I mean, was there any songs that you really wanted that the Sony money didn't allow you to get?
It was okay, so the opening song came very close to the first words that you heard in the movie was Lou Reed, and it was the Anthony and the Johnsons, one of the best albums ever, I Am a Bird Now. If you haven't listened to it, seek it out immediately. But there's a song, and this was almost too good to be true, because the song is the most gorgeous song you've ever heard, and it's about fisting. It's called Fistful of Love, and Lou Reed introduces it, and then Anthony takes it, And that was originally the opening, and everybody was like, at some was like, yeah, this is fucking beautiful. I don't think anyone was listening to like what was actually being, like the lyrics. And Anthony wanted it, but it was like about like 10 grand. It was something like that. Like there was a difference of that. So we ended up going in a different direction, but I think it worked out well still. But that was like, I very much specifically wanted, like, because the Vietnam song that's in there, it's a very specific like spoken word kind of thing over like the imagery at the beginning of the strip club, and then like the movie when she comes out with from the curtains, so like it had to be like, you had to like feel it in a certain way, you know. But that was super fun, you know, to like just be able to like, you know, get songs that like mean something to me and put them in the movie.
Now this is one's for all the Coast to Coast AM heads. How'd you get Art Bell in this?
So that was really interesting because that scene was not originally that was a late addition to the movie, and that was a Mancuso call. He was like, you know, hey, you know, kid, what are we gonna do? Like, people need to understand the stigmata. You know,
Well, wasn't there
spell
already?
it out for him?
Well, wasn't already a movie Stigmata out?
Right, which he produced. That's a Mancuso movie, yeah. So he knew it was the Mancuso foresight. So basically, we came upon the idea. Okay, we'll just spell it out in a video that she finds from Ask.com. And Art Bell and Coast to Coast was really important to me. I spent a lot of my 20s driving around the United States and listening to him all night long. If you don't know who Art Bell is, he hosted a show called Coast to Coast that was all night long radio show in which he would talk about aliens, government conspiracies, all kinds of stuff. The show I think still exists, but Art was the master. He's no longer with us. Offered it to him. I was so stoked that he said yes. We were shooting out in Santa Clarita. He drove out from Arizona, where he had just come back from the Philippines with a new wife. He brought her. They only ate at Denny's on the way there and on the way back. And as soon as he got there, he proceeded to sit me down and tell me how everything in the script has actually happened. So he just laid it out like, this is all fucking true shit. Like the whole stigmata thing. And he was telling me this, he was smoking. I was like, oh dude, I fucking love you. I didn't know you smoked. So you have to smoke in the movie, you know, because then it has like a Rod Serling kind of thing. So to me now, like when that comes on and it's just Art like smoking, just breaking down into the stigmata, like it's beautiful. You know, I love it.
I know some of these people are not going to agree with this, and Big Tobacco might agree with me here, but I kind of miss seeing movies where just people smoked everywhere. Like, as a kid, I remember going to restaurants and like there was barely a non-smoking section.
Yeah. When I was really little, there was. One of my earliest memories was being on a plane and peeling back the curtain to the smoking section. You know, as if the curtain would protect you from the smoke. It's like,
I mean, you know, it's velvet or something like that.
But yeah, and also, that's another thing, you like Lindsay just lighting up cigarettes, and obviously she was a real smoker, because it always bugs me in movies when people are smoking, but you can tell, like, oh yeah, that person doesn't smoke. But she loved cigarettes, Art loved cigarettes, and if someone legitimately loves cigarettes, with the light hitting it, it is a beautiful thing.
I mean, look at film noir.
Yeah, well, and obviously, I'm not trying to, no one should take any lessons from me about, like, actual life stuff from anything else. Obviously, it's just about, you know.
What we're trying to say is smoking still looks cool in movies. Maybe. Don't take that, but.
Yeah, but it's not in any movies anymore anyway, so.
You get automatic R rating if you have anyone smoking in a movie now. But this one earned its R rating. How the hell did you get away with so much stuff by the MPA at the time?
I think, again, it was because just no one was really paying attention. I think we got an R rating the first time we submitted it. Maybe just they didn't want to watch it again. They're like, just fucking whatever, like, send this one through.
Because, like, there's things in it that a Friday the 13th would have got, like, sent back, like, 5 times to was, like, completely, like, didn't exist anymore. You have like hands and fingers like cut, like at the sewing scene when she's like trying to sew on her like gangrene like that.
Yeah, that was really funny to me to see today. Like this thing, I gotta admire someone that tries to sew on a completely gangrene thing. Like that's such a metaphor for like so many days of my life. Like just like trying to repair something that's completely irreparable, but trying anyway.
Now,
that was funny.
I guess this is a weird transition going from sewing a figure on, but what was the editing process like when you were putting this movie together? Because you were talking about those color dissolves. Were those all things that you had in mind the whole time while you were shooting it?
The color dissolve idea kind of came up late, and the editing process was quick because there's like an hour and a half of scenes that are not in the movie. I cut out so many scenes that tried to make things make sense. And there's also some really funny strip club scenes, I feel like, with her fellow, I don't even remember the character's name, that finds her, that's talking about her when she has her finger has fallen off. But there was a bunch of scenes deleted, because there's also, if you notice, there's some of the red herrings. There's the dude Lanny, that bald security guard dude that you can't cut to occasionally. There's a whole subplot with him. There's a whole subplot with the gardener dude. There was a whole subplot with another girl. There's a lot of stuff that just didn't make it in. Because I came from my first movie having to shoot really quickly. This movie we had 30-something days, which to me seemed a lot. So we shot a lot of stuff. So the editing, I think the editing was aided well by the fact we didn't have a lot of time. We just kept going and kind of cut it down to what at the time just seemed me to be the most interesting stuff.
Now, since you've been coming to these screenings, January Giallo, and we just watched this tonight, do you have any interest in making another Giallo-esque film down the line?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's one in the works.
Ooh.
So I don't like to talk about stuff because it always anytime I talk about something, then it totally fucking dissolves and explodes. But yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like that's what the thing that I have that to contribute. I have more to contribute in that space, and absolutely.
Awesome. That's really happy to hear that because I'll speak for myself, but maybe the audience, we would love to see another one of these on this big screen here. Now, as this, it got beat up when it came out, but when did you start noticing this film was starting to pick up traction as a cult film where people were kind of reevaluating as not just this this terrible piece of shit Razzie kind of movie, but as something that is a really interesting, cool cult movie?
Well, it took a while because at first I was very because also I'd cut out of social media completely, which may have been a good thing for me. When this movie came out, I was like, okay, this is not good to look at all this shit. So I just kind of took a big step back from it. One early indication was, is Simon here? Maybe not. Simon Barrett told me a few years after this came out that he had an acquaintance with John Waters, and he said that at the time John Waters in his house was always had either gay porn or I Know Who Killed McFlanagan. When people would come in, and I was like, oh, okay, makes me feel really good. I like that. and that was the first indication. I was like, oh yeah, maybe it might mean something to somebody. And so yeah, then it just kind of snowballed from there. And whenever I travel around to film festivals or whatever, I always meet people that are strangely devoted to it, which I appreciate.
Now, I think we have time for this last question here. So now that you're revisited, do you feel vindicated in the movie you made watching with this audience tonight and just how it's grown over the years?
Yeah, I don't know if it vindicated is the right word, but it just felt really good to watch it. Watching it tonight after a long absence was I almost was oh, wait, it's not weirder than that. You know what I mean? It's oh, it's not that weird, or but so yeah, I did. Basically, watching it tonight was like, made me feel good in the sense that what I achieved, what I wanted to do back then, without even realizing it, which was just to make a movie that I want to watch. And watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a movie that I want to watch. So that was really nice.
Awesome. Everyone, give it up for Chris. And give it up to, basically give it up to yourself, because spread the word. I know who killed me, because it should become a tradition. This played at 3 different venues during January. Giallo played Denver and Knoxville, so I was really happy to see other programmers picking it up. But Chris, thank you for coming. This has been a treat to show.